Before today, the Loizeaux' biggest challenge was the Pittsburgh Tower, the tallest steel-framed building ever to be blown up. The Loizeaux family and its company, CDI, likes to break records. Now they are taking on the biggest concrete dome in the world, strong enough to last 1,000 years. It's their toughest job ever, and it's hugely controversial.
We're the only contractor that is capable of performing those high-profile projects. There's a reason they're high-profile. Either it's complexity or it's got a lot of political concerns surrounding it. And at the end of the day, you know, when they realize that absolutely nothing can go wrong, they can't afford to have anything go wrong, they realize that they have to use us.
From the very start, they knew the project was going to be their most difficult.
Oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, the Kingdom is a 15. And it's not just the complexity of the structure itself, or the size of the structure, it's the political climate surrounding this project is unbelievable. You know, that's been a little intimidating, I think, for everybody, just because there's so much going on. There's such a circus happening just beneath the skin of this whole project. You almost have to realign your priorities every morning and remind yourself that, hey, we're here to do a job. I have to go to work.
The Kingdome is home to the Seattle Seahawks, who are owned by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen, third richest man in the world. He's decided to build a new stadium for the team. But first, he needs the publicly owned Kingdome destroyed.
Midfield. Great drop for Pittman, end zone, touchdown.
These plans have been strongly criticized, and the project is taking place under intense public scrutiny.
There was a couple billionaires that came in. They said they wanted the public to build them a professional stadium, and they said we want it at this spot where the Kingdome was, which was a functional building, which we just built like 25 years ago, and it seemed absolutely moronic to demolish it.
It has to be a political project. I mean, we're dealing with one of the owners of Microsoft, Paul Allen, and his company is Vulcan and First and Goal, the Public Stadium Authority, which represents the taxpayers up here. Turner Construction, who is a client of ours and very important to us to really understand exactly how we fit in the political scheme of things. But the bottom line is the reason we're here is to bring the structure down safely while we minimize impact on the neighborhood.
Mark Loizeaux has been planning the demolition for 2 years, but the Seahawks have a winning streak, and the start of the project is delayed by a month. The main contractors for the new stadium turn to construction start ripping out the interior the moment the Seahawks lose a game. They've got a very tight schedule.
If we have to get pushed into the middle of April with the demolition, bringing the building down, then we've got some problems with the schedule. So that was one real concern, is making the middle of March with demolition.
CDI finally get their hands on the building just 2 months before the scheduled demolition date.
We're just getting started, and we have, counting down, not much time.
The whole roof is like a huge saucer, and if it hits in one piece, we really have problems with vibration. So if you look up, you can see that we have 40 different ribs coming down, and then we have a poured concrete grate in between each rib. So it's not only the idea of having to fell this structure to get it to pull away from the adjacent exposures, but to break it up sufficiently so when it hits the ground, it will minimize the vibration to the surrounding properties. And the real key is the timing.
It's only now that brothers Mark and Doug Loizeaux can check the blueprints against the real structure.
And as long as this hits first, and then I would go with this second.
The primary areas that we'll be attacking on this, we've got the compression ring, which runs around the top. We have the tension ring, and we've got, these are called the XX columns, and another column row inside. So basically what we want to do is get the thing to fold in on itself.
One of the greatest things we have to overcome here is how to deal with the amount of weight that's coming down. All in all, in the above-grade structure, you've got about 110,000 tons of concrete in the superstructure of the King Dome, and we've got to get that falling at different times slowly. We don't want that vibration to be sent over to adjacent properties.
Directly to the west side of the King Dome are the homes on Occidental Avenue, and they are most at risk. Tremors caused by 100,000 tons of concrete hitting the ground could cause cracks in walls and other structural damage many blocks away. As well as controlling vibration, Mark has to worry about where pieces of the King Dome might fall. Very close along the east side of the King Dome runs a mainline railway that carries all the freight and passengers from the west coast to Canada and Alaska.
The distance from the outside face of the XX column over to the close set of tracks, it's about 62 feet. The main line is another 35, 40 feet further over. So actually, even if one of these columns fell out its full height, that would be bad. But they won't.
You can see how close we are in proximity to the King Dome. We're establishing liability agreements, certainly our legal department and our risk assessment folks. And we've had meetings for several months with both the construction company and Controlled Demolition, which are the folks that are actually going to do the implosion. So that everybody knows everybody else's needs, and we're all quite certain what to expect and what to be prepared for.
To add to Mark's problems, the new stadium is being built to a strict deadline, so its stair and lift towers are going up before the King Dome is demolished.
The foundations that underlie this stair tower and the one over there are absolutely critical to the whole new construction schedule. If something were to happen here, for example, with column number 39, I was just stepping off the distance just to check it. If one of these got loose and got into the stair tower, it would automatically push back stadium construction by months.
The Loizeaux have never before had to work on a roof as high and as steep as the King Dome's. Doug Loizeaux and Ray Zukowski, a CDI supervisor, are trying to solve the problem of working safely on the 300 feet high pitched roof.
They're going to fab it on the ground. They're going to prefab it. They're going to roll it in. So it's rolled into itself. Come up, pull it off, lay it on the ribbon.
The roof is going to cause more problems than anyone realizes. Turner Construction planned to use recycled rubble from the King Dome as foundations for the new playing field. But the roof has a rubber and styrofoam lining that will cause contamination if it isn't removed first. No one knows how long this is going to take. Climbers have been recruited for the job, but it's back-breaking work. Doing anything takes 10 times as long as it would normally. Almost 6,000 holes have to be drilled before the explosives can be inserted into the columns and the ribs of the King Dome. It may not look it, but it's high-precision work. The holes have to be accurately precisioned and drilled to just the right depth. This will take several weeks. But the drillers are delayed waiting for the plastic to be removed. After 3 weeks, it's clear that everything is falling way behind schedule.
Our slowest point is still the roof removal. It's just a slow process. Their original estimate was to do a bay a day. Right now, they've been there for 3.5 weeks, and they've done 4 bays.
Plastic covering was fixed to the roof by steel pins. These also must be got rid of.
They're very thick. They're approximately 7 inches tall. And to remove the roof, they cut off the top section. Most of that's done on an angle. So that basically turns into a 7-inch nail pointing upwards. Our potential problem is if someone were to slip and fall, you would land on that, you would become a pincushion. I think there's almost 1 million of them up there. Now in the flat section alone, that took one man almost 2.5 days to do with a small grinder taking everything down flush. So if you did fall, there was no chance of an injury.
If I had been the first person here to look at this, I don't think I ever would have taken it on. It's so intimidating. It's so big. But and the heights we're working at, just all around, walking on the roof. I mean, there's so many inherent, problems and dangers and logistical difficulties that it's been a bear.
Faced with the log jam on the roof and the delays caused by worsening weather, CDI sees a tight schedule become even tighter. But there's little they can do except wait. And so another job 1,000 miles away becomes no problem. It's the Mapes Hotel, Reno's first hotel casino. Like the King Dome, it's a landmark building, a piece of Reno history. And like the King Dome, there's been a lot of arguments about its fate.
Changed the image of Reno overnight from a hockey town, cow town, to a sophisticated little city, that one building.
Some of Hollywood's most famous stars were guests here.
Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, John Huston, Eli Wallach, Montgomery Clift, Frank Sinatra. We've been fighting for 2.5 years to save it, and with not too good results.
The campaign to stop it being demolished has failed. It's much smaller than the King Dome, but on closer inspection, it's not as easy as it looks. On one side, it lies on the bank of the Truckee River, which is clear and so far unpolluted by debris. And on the other, on busy Virginia Street.
Same premise that we had on the Herald's building.
Doug is shocked to discover the hotel isn't safe. He calls a press conference to announce the bad news.
The structure is not built as we anticipated. It's very lightly constructed. There's very little reinforcing in the building, and the concrete's in pretty bad shape. So the decision that was made to take the building down is a good one. I know a lot of people felt really close to this building, from the historical aspect, but this building really isn't sound.
They've also just found out that a structural girder connects both wings of the hotel.
This wing of the building, we have to bring it in this way away from the Truckee River, and this wing of the building here, we have to bring it away from First Street. So what we have are the two sides trying to come in, but now, rather than dealing with them independently, we have to deal with them together, because we have the structural girder that if I move this end, it's going to modify that end, and now I have to cope with that sooner than I would like. So I've got a little bit of a contentious nature between these two wings with what they want to do. Keep in mind, we don't make buildings do things. We want them to do what they want to do, come down, just our way. It's fighting with me right now. It doesn't want to cooperate.
Mark's solution is to use steel cables in the building. They tie columns in the front of the building to columns at the rear. When the hotel collapses, this should prevent the walls falling outwards and should pull the front of the building away from the street. The cables need to be as tight as they can be.
What they're doing here is they've already put plastic on the windows if they could. They're going to put...
While this goes on, Mark and Doug hold a brief meeting to discuss what to say if the job goes wrong.
As far as I'm concerned, we will have material in Virginia. The Truckee River, for those of you who never got a chance to look, all those bump-out bay windows are just set in there with friction. They aren't even pinned, and they probably are going to come out. If you are in the vicinity of media or people who are interested in what is going to happen, let them know this is what we expect. If we do better than that, thank you.
It's the morning of the demolition. The police have talked through the countdown by Doug.
You don't need to sweep your people again. Tell them if they see something, stop the countdown.
while Mark takes the last chance to steer the media in the right direction.
It's a very light building, and that means it's hard for us to move it away from the Truckee. It's hard for us to move it away from Virginia. So we can only do the best we can.
Jamie's clear.
Hook up the blasting machine.
Jamie's all hooked up.
Chuck?
Still got a minute, Doug.
Ray, are you clear?
In the red.
All right, here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, fire. Oh, it looks perfect. Damn, we cheated death again.
The Loizeaux family have done it again, and the Mapes Hotel has gone for good.
You see it cut through. I went in. I pulled the back 2 columns, the next 2 columns, and pulled them forward 2.5 delays. Just I cut straight through the way you had it originally.
I'll tell you what.
And I just shortened it. I kept pulling forward.
This corner almost was parallel to river.
Well, it was now. It moved in.
The rubble, though perilously close, has not spilled into the Truckee River, except for a few pieces of stone.
Look at the rubble, it's beautiful. All right.
Breakage is great.
Good job, sir. I think your bum squad could have done
Good job. Nice image, that flag coming out of the dust there.
Nice job, Debbie. A whole lot more. So how are you doing? We are over by the building.
But the problems of the Kingdome will not go away so easily. With the walls and cladding now removed, the supporting columns have been revealed. The Loizeaux team can finally get down to their work. And they've found a mechanical solution to the delays on the roof. It's a remotely controlled digger. Work on the roof speeds up at last, but the delay will add to their pressure. The scheduled demolition date is just 4 weeks away, and in the dead of night, the first consignment of explosives is delivered. Mark Loizeaux thinks they'll need 2 tons, a massive amount. 50 times greater than was needed at Reno. It's such a large amount, the order had to be placed before their plans were finalized. Now they need to do a test explosion on the columns holding up the dome to see if their calculations are correct. Their biggest concern is the larger outer columns, called the XX columns.
What's important is these columns are really the key to the whole project. In certain areas, we have to drop these vertically. Other areas, we have to use them as a hinge to help fold the walls in. The steel is so heavy in this column, and we're only blasting 2 holes. We aren't going to displace the steel.
The areas of the column to be blasted are covered with wire mesh and a black fabric to hold back flying debris.
Okay, Jim, we're in position. Everything checks out, and I've got accountability for everyone.
Okay.
Fire.
The dynamite was powerful enough to displace the concrete, but it's only blown half of it away. It means the columns may not fall properly and could damage surrounding properties. Mark and Doug meet to work out why this happened. They suspect the holes are in the wrong place.
Basically, the energy is going the direction of least resistance. I mean, it's everything is coming this way because of the support line here, the support line here, and the drilling operation, call it quality control.
That's going to want to push that column backwards.
Yep.
It's going to be fighting against the tension of pulling those columns in.
I mean, these columns will reach all the way across Occidental. I think that we need to do away with this hole. We need to do away with this hole, re-drill 2 more holes on the y-axis and every single column on arena level.
I don't know that you want to do away with those holes. I think that you want to load both of them.
Oh, that's a thought.
That's great.
Extra holes have to be drilled, causing further delays. But the Loizeaux have made one decision that will save them a lot of time.
Way back, we decided that it would be a heck of a lot easier loading these very deep holes if we pre-made the assemblies. And since the loads were pretty consistent, we decided that we could take this plastic channel, pre-cut it to a determined length, and space the charges out on it. What this saves us doing is, instead of going to a column, loading your primer charge, putting sand into this exact dimension, putting another charge, putting sand in, putting another charge, putting sand in, you just slip it in, foam it out, and it saves you, 5 minutes a hole.
The prefabricated charges are laboriously carried up to the 300-foot-high roof.
Sure, take one.
There are over 400 of them to be loaded into the roof ribs. Inching slowly down the ribs, they don't have time to enjoy the view.
There obviously are hazards inherent to working on in an elevated place like that, and the ribs themselves are very narrow. And you've got all this climbing gear on, and you're trying to hassle with ropes, plus you're trying to carry charges, plus you're trying to carry stemming. So that's really the only part that gets it all interesting, is the fact you're trying to juggle so many different operations at once.
The charges are spaced throughout the 6-foot-thick ribs. Each section of the rib needs a different charge, and the work is carefully monitored. After these have been loaded, it's the turn of the 145-foot-high columns. Access is difficult here too, and perched on an exposed 100-foot-man lift, the task seems insurmountable.
I think the biggest problem with this job has been time. We just seem to keep slipping away from us. And there's so many concurrent operations going on. There's so many things that this can't happen until this is completed, and we're crawling all over top of each other. We've got 3 man lifts working on the same column. It shouldn't be happening. We're working on Sunday. Again, it's just getting down to crunch time, and we've got a week left, and it seems like we're close to being finished, but there's a lot of work here to do yet.
Ray thinks Stacy Loizeaux deserves a reward.
Lollipops.
Yes, Ray has very calculatingly implemented the star system on this job. So a good deed gets a silver star. If you accrue 5 silver stars, you get a gold star. Gold stars are hard to come by. I've got 2 now, don't I? 2, right?
What do you get if you get a gold star?
Huh?
So what do you get if you get a gold star?
A gold star.
It's now just 5 days to the scheduled demolition day. Despite the lack of time, the Loizeaux team are beginning to feel that they will hit their target.
Love you too. Bye.
top-notch professionalism.
Should be a supermodel on this. Oh. Yep.
Stacy and Ray begin to connect up all the charges which are now in place in the roof ribs. Making the roof fall down correctly is the key to a successful job. Mark has worked out a way to reduce the vibrations when the dome hits the ground. His plan is to make the dome collapse in different sections that he calls Phase 1 and Phase 2.
The thing that I want to do is swing this in. We're in Phase 2 right here. I'm thinking seriously about releasing all of these simultaneously, Doug. There's a whole lot of advantage in doing this. We keep down concussion.
Each ribbon column of the first half, the yellow section, will be detonated separately 1.5 seconds apart. Then the blue section will be exploded all in one.
And if we let that rotate for over here, in the middle of Phase 1 here, Phase 1 here, Phase 1 over here, going to drop, and there's going to be a deflection in the tension ring. The ribs right above that are going to fire, and also the tendons up around the compression ring at the very top will fire. It creates flexibility in the center of each of the 3 Phase 1 sections. And as they begin to depress, sequentially, the columns are going to start firing out from that into Phase 2. Those two, I'll stop back.
They hope to control how different pieces of the kingdom fall by using timed detonators.
The detonator is initiated by the detonating cord, which is clicked into the J-clip. When the cord detonates, it sends an explosive pulse through the shock tube. The shock tube then hits the detonator itself, and the internal timer burns. And at 3 seconds, at the predetermined time, it will detonate about the last ½ inch of this cap. And when that is inserted into the dynamite, put in the hole, then the explosive detonates and does what we want.
No hammer, just push.
Mark wants some supporting beams weakened to help some sections fall first.
Get Phase 1, here are the Phase 1 columns. Also, over here on Phase 2, this is the 8-column section. Grab this one and this one.
Time is running out, and despite being the boss, Mark lends a hand in the laborious job of connecting all the charges. They will have to lay more than 19 miles of detonating cord. Each phase of the Kingdome is connected with timed detonators to introduce the short delay required to spread out the impact on the ground.
By stocking 3M.
Stacy inserts the delays between each of the columns so that the circuit of detonating cord is complete. With detonators in place, the dome is now in a highly dangerous state.
This is the most sensitive part of the entire system, the detonator. You look up right there, you can see where we've softened these beams. So you've got pieces of loose concrete up there. If the wind's kicked up or something like that, potentially you could have loose concrete fall down, hit one of these caps, and this whole phase is going off.
Check the badge. Nobody.
Mark warns the rest of CDI to be careful about who else is allowed into the building.
I'm just very, very concerned about the pressure sensitivity of the caps that are laid out as we speak on the floor of the Kingdome. And it's really important that we be sure that everybody is out of there. For example, the man lift over there working on the sign. That guy had stuff in the man lift. He had a pair of pliers that could fall, hit a cap. That's what I just told Rich has to stop. He said if necessary, we'll take the signs down. That's a good answer. But we have something over there that is sensitive to pressure, and if one of those caps goes off, the entire structure is coming down right now. And I want all of us to be watchful of that because the other people don't appreciate it. We keep telling them and they're not listening, and we have to drum it into them. So please keep your eyes open, right? That's all I have to say.
The solution is a simple sandbag placed over the detonators. The Loizeaux company has been in existence for 50 years, and in that time has blown up every type of structure. With the Kingdome, they are risking a reputation that is second to none. local interest is intense. Just 2 days prior to the implosion, a local TV station broadcasts an interview with a bitter critic of the Loizeaux company.
Broadcasting in HD TV from Digital Studio A.
I have heard concerns from every blaster in the industry because of the recent problems.
October 9th.
The news item attacks CDI's record, highlighting a few errors made over the years.
Beams crush an elevated train track. The city of
Their reputation, it alleges, is now in the balance.
damage. December 96, the Hacienda Hotel in Las Vegas. Part of the south wing is left standing. February 96, CDI implodes the old airport runway bridge in Denver. A portion refuses to fall.
They have had several problems lately. The King Dome is a very, very big project for CDI. If it does not go well, there will be even larger credibility issues than there are now.
The high-profile nature of this job is beginning to rebound on them.
Anytime you stand on the top of the ridge, you're an easy target. And we certainly are on top of the ridge in this industry. You know, all of our other guys are pretty upset about it, but truthfully, I'm just kind of smiling because, you know, he can't hurt us. You know, we've spent 50 years establishing this reputation, and 5 minutes of beratement from a nobody is not going to damage that.
Under fire and EMS, there will be a branch manager. The branch manager
At a final safety meeting organized by Seattle's fire department, Jim Santoro, CDI's public relations wizard, reaffirms their safety record.
We're an extremely safety-conscious group, and we don't trust anything or anyone. We do have spotters located within the area. These are our own people, and they don't need to see what's going on. They can duck behind something when it's appropriate. And for that reason, we don't put any of the city employees in that area. We put our own people in there.
The part of the initiation system, when it first goes off, it will actually give a scare charge and the birds will leave.
Oh, God.
A telephone hotline has been opened, and Jim deals with questions from members of the public.
This is a non-electric system, and there'll be a large noise prior to any of the structural charges going off. The birds will be scared and can leave.
If they want.
So that the birds will go ahead and leave the building.
Put out a scare charge.
They received 800 phone calls in the first 45 minutes. Since then, we've tapered off to about 30 to 40 phone calls every 2 hours. Built into the schedule, Mark said he wanted to come there.
One of the phone calls has to be taken very seriously indeed.
For those of you who are unaware, we've had a very visible bomb threat in the last 2 days. I had a meeting with the ATF and the local bomb squad day before yesterday. All authorities agreed that it was entirely probable that it was a hoax. They had already taken the appropriate steps with the schools that had been threatened to be co-bombed with the destruction of the King Dome. Everyone, please be aware that it is legal at any point in time under the FCC regulations for someone to listen to anything we broadcast. Please, I'd like to remind everyone to keep your comments brief, to the planned verbiage. When I ask for an all clear, what I'd like to have is clear, not looks good from over here, not I don't see anything. Just come back with clear. If you have a problem, I'd like you to say not clear. If I want further information, I'll ask you for further information rather than having you volunteer.
Everybody knows our frequency. We've had threats, we've had interlopers. I would suggest a different word. I don't care whether it's stop CDI, CDI stop red. Just something different than just stop or halt. Something unique that is going to be recognizable for a command that we've chosen.
Later in this newscast, another look inside the dome today, plus one last chance to grab some King Dome memories.
Around the King Dome, there's a mixture of excitement and nostalgia as the media and the people of Seattle take a last chance to say farewell to a familiar landmark.
Nice thing about the morning of the shot is that everybody is cranked up, except us. You know, we're the only people apparently that really know what's going on. That's not true. That's not true. This is about the best organized I've ever seen an operation. First and Goal and Turner Construction and Amman really have got it well organized. And it makes our job easy. It makes us look good. And never ever do away with the opportunity to look good. Rule 1.
Following his own advice, Mark's first port of call is the media pen, where CDI is again put under the spotlight. There are those who won't be too surprised if things go wrong.
What can we expect to see here in a couple hours?
Something way cool.
Do you know what
you're only going to see it one time. You got one take, guys, so don't blow it.
Mark is on good form.
What's a 10 and what's a 1? I mean, you look out there.
I'll take an 11 if I can get it. But we'll be satisfied with minimal damage and control of the area.
With 45 minutes to go, the last train from Tacoma passes the Kingdom. Ray sets up a firing position.
We have three separate electrical series in the building. We have a series initiating the roof, and we split the arena level into 2 different series. All of those series run into the bus line, which is running out here.
Just 2 wires lead to the Kingdom, where 2 tons of explosives wait to be triggered. With the public relations over, Mark joins his daughter Stacy inside the Kingdom. It's the last chance he's got to make sure that nothing will go wrong and that everything has been double-checked.
All right, so the 2 series, obviously the roof is 1, and you decided to split it where?
Right, basically at the elevator shafts, we just bisected the
So this side
arena.
over here, you're right in the center of a phase 1. And this side over here, you're in the center of a phase 2.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we went very methodically, tying in, checking resistance, and it all jived. Be glad when we're sitting in Las Vegas, having a drink.
I understand that.
Why on earth did we take this job?
The covering for the railway tracks is rolled out. It may stop dust, but it will offer little protection against any heavier debris. As the crowd gathers, a safety officer gives some last-minute advice.
Please, put your dust mask on if you have it, and remember, remain calm, dust won't hurt you, even if you don't have a mask. The thing to remember is, if you decide to move away from it, do it calmly and slowly. Moving it on.
He's not bad. He's pretty well informed.
Somebody in the front decides they want to get out of here fast, people in the back are going to be in danger.
The problem is the wind is blowing right here. It's coming right across these people. So this is one of those cases where being in the front row is not a good idea.
The residents of Occidental Avenue have to be evacuated. And as they are given free breakfast in a nearby restaurant, they can do nothing but wait and watch.
Last one out was Stacy and I.
All right, did the police clear out now? Everything gone?
Yes, Jimmy just said that the roamers were pulling
When
out.
are you hooking up the blaster machine?
5 minutes out.
Okay, resistance? Steady, 5 solids of rock. It's coming down. It's coming down. If I could make this float up, I just put a big balloon in and float it out to sea and dump it in an ocean trench. But no, it's coming down.
Mark's wife has arrived to give support.
And a gorgeous day.
Thank you, Mateo.
See you afterwards, okay.
Love you.
And we thank you for your love. May we have a safe job in Jesus' name. Amen. Stacy, are you clear?
Clear.
Mark, are you clear? Clear.
Not yet, Jim.
Seattle holds its breath.
Keep your eyes up.
CDI, 10,
9, 8, 7,
6, 5.
Freaking real. Was that the most incredible thing you've ever seen in your life?
Kowski, Tom down.
That's pretty impressive. Go ahead.
Oh, man.
It went well. Perfect.
The detonating cord flashes up the columns, and the dome, as Mark wanted, breaks up in segments with Phase 1 collapsing, followed by Phase 2. Mark and CDI have survived the pressure and the criticism to pull off the perfect job.
It appears that the entire dome, other than loose debris, is within the footprint. The tracks are clear. Occidental is clear, obviously, except for dust and stuff Bobcats pick up. How do you look? Do you look good in gray, Devin?
Right now, I think that everyone's looking better in gray than before. Yeah, the dust color, yeah.
There you go. Thanks, sweetie.
Yeah, it is.
It came real. I'll be honest. It transcended my expectations. I thought it was gonna hold up a little bit more than that. But basically, what we're looking at is the cuts that we did in the seating vents.
Yeah.
It came over and stopped and knuckled under.
Yeah.
And look at the holes where the tendons were.
Yeah.
Sucked them right out. Right out. Good job, Mark. You spend a lot of time planning and wondering exactly how something's going to happen. You give it everything that you have. Rely on everybody in your team to give you feedback. And this is even better than I expected. It's flat. We were talking about getting it down within 70 feet. I don't think there's anything here that's taller than about 20 feet. It's what we expected, maybe even a little bit better.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
The covering is pulled off the railway lines. Within minutes, the cleanup begins.
Game on BBC Two tonight as the world of darts erupts into a war of words. There's blood on the carpet at 11:25.